Okay, we're going to introduce the negative part of the number line, in particular negative integers, and here's how we're going to introduce them. We begin first off with the student's prior knowledge. What do they know? Well, they know the number line, and of course the positive numbers. They aren't used to thinking of them as positive integers. They don't even know the word integer. Whole numbers and counting numbers and so on. They know how this thing works. So we want to begin with something that they're very familiar with, and that's the number line, because here we are in maybe 6th grade or 7th grade introducing the negative integers, and so they've used a number line since at least 1st grade, and but you might want to review a few things with them first. One is that the idea that each of these values here, each of these numbers, can be represented as an addition or subtraction number. Like, for example, the number 4 can be considered as, if you begin at 0, you go 0 and you go in the positive direction 1, 2, 3, 4. So that can be considered 0 plus 4. The number 2, for example, could be considered as 5 minus 3. Okay, so looking at the numbers this way as composites is very important, especially for this strategy. Also establishing that plus or adding, you move to the right, you begin at 0 and you move to the right, and subtraction, you move to the left. So you want to review those concepts with the students and take time to review the numbers in this way. So 5 could be the number 1 plus 4. That's another way to represent that part of the number line. So with the number line set up like this, I can locate points anywhere on this number line. Like, for example, I could put a point here, and that's at, of course, the point 2, or 1 plus 1, if you want to look at it that way too. I can put a point here. What if I wanted to put a point over here? Okay, see, my number line doesn't allow for that. What I'm doing right now is I'm creating a need, a reason to extend this number line to the left. I'm not just going to say, hey, let's just do this for whatever reason, for no reason really, which is what a lot of traditional math is all about. We just do things in the math, and it's like, well, why am I doing that? Well, because it's math, and because math doesn't make sense often in a traditional classroom. But in my classroom, I'm trying to make the math always make sense. There's a reason why I'm going to extend this number line now, because I've got a point over here and I can't identify it. I can identify any point over here, but I can't identify a point over here. So I've just created a need, a reason to extend this number line to the left. So I would say, okay, well, how about if I extend my number line to the left? And so I'm going to and I will mark off okay, so if I put a point here, okay, I can now identify it. I could say, okay, well, at least from 0, since I went 1, 2, 3, 4 this way, I can also go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can extend the number line that way, beginning with 0. Remember, they don't know negative integers. That's what we're getting. That's what we're introducing here. And now I'm able to find a point, place it anywhere over here, and be able to identify it. Okay, so this point here is at 4. Now there's a problem that arises here, and again, I'm creating another need. In that, if I say to somebody, okay, go to 2, go to the place 2 on the number line and place a point, well, do I place it here or do I place it here? Okay, so now there's some confusion. It's nice that I have this part of the number line because I can identify points over here for the first time. However, it is creating some confusion here, because if I say place a point at 3, well, which one do you mean? This one here or this one here? I could use terms that like 3 to the left of 0, or 4 to the right of 0, and that's a lot of words, and we know in math we use symbols. We don't use a lot of words. So, we're going to, so that'll work, but we want to think of this more mathematical and figure out another system, a system in which when I say go to 2, you'll know which 2 I'm talking about, whether this one here or this one here. Since we have established that we can go we add to the right and we subtract when we go to the left, which we did prior to just moving this number line out here, I'm going to identify all these numbers as they relate to 0 in terms of plus and minus. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say, okay, that's still 0, but this one here is going to be, if I begin at 0, how do I get here? 0 plus 1. How do I get to this one? 0 plus 2, and so on. And I'm just moving them up and down because I just don't have a lot of room here. My markers are writing very thick. The same with these numbers over here now. So instead of this being 1, this is 0 take away 1, or 0 minus 1. And this one would be 0 minus 2, 0 minus 3, 0 minus 4, and 0 minus 5. Okay, so now if I ask a student, place a point, if I want to place a point, for example, here, instead of saying place a point at 4, which would be either here or here, now I'm going to say place a point at 0 plus 4. And they know, okay, I know exactly what that is. I've used all math symbols, 0 plus 4, or 0 minus 1. Oh, I know exactly which of the ones to pick. It's that one there. Okay, so that's very nice. So now I've got a system of 0 pluses and 0 minuses. Okay, so far so good. I'm able to locate points out here. I'm able to identify them, differentiate them from these points over here by the 0 plus and the 0 minus. Beyond that now, what if I, when I say something like go to 0 plus 3 or 0 minus 3, let's see how helpful that first number 0 is. Because if I say to a class, go to 0, okay, and I'm kind of like hanging the question, I'm going to give them the rest of the question, 0, I haven't narrowed down any of these numbers. In other words, 0, it's like, okay, they're all possible. The teacher might pick any of those. And if I go to 0 plus, well, now suddenly, okay, I know I'm on this side of the number line, okay? So the 0 isn't helping me, but the plus suddenly says, okay, go on this side. Or if I say, go to 0 minus, oh, okay, I know we're over here, okay? So the plus and the minus are important, but the 0 itself isn't helping me at all. In other words, go to 0, it doesn't help me. Go to 0 plus, it's like, okay, now at least I know where to go on the number line. I've cut the number line into 2 parts, and I can ignore one part of it. So the 0 doesn't help, but the plus and the minus, those do help. So maybe when I identify my numbers here, I can make this a little bit more efficient and say, okay, let's get rid of just the 0 part here. So plus 5, plus 4, plus 3, plus 2, plus 1, and minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. Okay? So now what I can say is go to minus 4, and they know to go to this one. Go to plus 2, they know to go to this one. Okay, that's much more efficient than 0 plus 2. All right? See, I'm giving them a reason to get rid of the zeros now. Okay, and now we've got all these plus numbers here, which we call positive integers, or positive numbers, and all these minus numbers here, which we call negative numbers. And now, or negative integers, and now I have just introduced positive, negative integers, but in a very meaningful and useful way. Beyond just doing this, I can start examining the value of these numbers. So now that we've established the positive, negative integers and the integers themselves, I can start looking at the values of these and how they compare. Like, for example, we know that 5 is greater than 2. All right, and I'd ask the students, again, I'm never telling them, but I'm asking them. I say, well, what about negative 5 and negative 2? Can you tell me which is greater there? Okay, now looking at the number line, they can see that -2 is to the right of -5, and just like all these values are to the right, but the one to the furthest to the right is larger. -2 is greater than -5 in this case. And I could do this with less than numbers too, which is smaller in value. So we can also establish those types of things. So basically what I've done is an overall strategy for introducing positive and negative integers in a way that's very meaningful.